If you're over 60 and still taking fish oil supplements hoping to build muscle and protect your heart, what I'm about to share might completely change your approach to healthy aging. There's a simple, affordable food that research suggests might be even more effective than those expensive omega-3 capsules you've been buying, and chances are you're not eating nearly enough of it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this humble food deserves a permanent spot on your plate. My name is Dr. Emily Hartman, and I'm a cardiologist who has spent over 20 years helping patients build stronger hearts and healthier bodies. Throughout my career, I've seen countless people waste money on supplements when the solution to their health concerns was sitting right in their kitchen all along. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you never miss another health tip made especially for you. If you enjoy this video, please leave your questions and video suggestions in the comments. I read every single one, and it helps me create more content to help more people just like you. Let me start by telling you about someone who completely transformed his health with this simple dietary change. Mr. Robert Chen, a 72-year-old retired construction worker from Sacramento, came to my office 2 years ago with a common problem. After his retirement, Robert had noticed his muscle strength declining rapidly. Simple tasks like carrying groceries or playing with his grandchildren left him exhausted. His wife, Margaret, told me she'd watched him become a shadow of the strong man she'd known for 45 years. Robert had been taking fish oil supplements religiously for 5 years, spending nearly $40 a month, yet he kept getting weaker. His cholesterol levels were still elevated, and he felt defeated. What we discovered during his nutritional assessment changed everything. Robert was barely consuming any legumes, despite them being one of the most powerful foods for both muscle health and cardiovascular protection. Now, you might be wondering what this magical food actually is. I'm talking about beans, lentils, chickpeas, and other legumes. Yes, these humble foods that many people overlook or consider boring are actually nutritional powerhouses that can rival or even surpass fish oil in certain health benefits. But here's what makes this even more interesting. Unlike fish oil, which primarily provides omega-3 fatty acids, legumes offer a complete package of nutrients that work synergistically to support your body in multiple ways. Let me explain the science behind this in a way that makes sense. When we talk about building muscle as we age, we're dealing with a condition called sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. This isn't just about looking fit, it's about maintaining independence, preventing falls, and protecting your metabolic health. Your muscles need protein, and not just any protein, but high-quality protein with all the essential amino acids your body can't produce on its own. For decades, people believed you needed animal products to get complete proteins, but we now understand that legumes, especially when combined with whole grains, provide exceptional protein quality. Here's where it gets fascinating. A single cup of cooked lentils contains approximately 18 grams of protein. That's more protein per calorie than many cuts of meat. But unlike meat, legumes come packaged with fiber, something fish oil completely lacks. This fiber is crucial for heart health in ways that go beyond what omega-3 fatty acids can do alone. The soluble fiber in legumes literally binds to cholesterol in your digestive system and escorts it out of your body before it can be absorbed. It's like having a natural cholesterol-lowering medication built right into your food. But there's more to this story. Mrs. Patricia Oliveira, a 68-year-old former teacher from Miami, discovered this benefit firsthand. Patricia had been diagnosed with high cholesterol in her early 60s. Her cardiologist had recommended fish oil supplements along with dietary changes, and while her numbers improved slightly, she was still at risk and worried about eventually needing medication. Patricia was particularly concerned because her father had died of a heart attack at 70, and she was determined not to follow the same path. When we worked together to incorporate legumes into her daily routine, something remarkable happened. Within just 3 months of eating a cup of beans or lentils most days of the week, Patricia's LDL cholesterol, That's the bad cholesterol, dropped by 23 points. Her HDL cholesterol, the good kind, actually increased. She told me with tears in her eyes that for the first time in years, she felt like she had real control over her health destiny. If you're still watching and finding this information helpful, comment beans below to show me you're paying attention and learning something valuable today. Now let's talk about something that surprised even me when I first started researching this topic deeply: the role of legumes in blood sugar control and how that connects to both muscle health and cardiovascular protection. This is one of those beautiful examples of how everything in your body is connected. When you eat legumes, their high fiber content and resistant starch cause your blood sugar to rise slowly and steadily, rather than spiking dramatically like it would with refined carbohydrates. This steady blood sugar response has profound implications for your health. Think about what happens when you eat something like white bread or sugary foods. Your blood sugar shoots up rapidly. Your pancreas releases a flood of insulin to bring it down, and then a few hours later, you crash, feeling tired and hungry again. This roller coaster damages your blood vessels over time and contributes to insulin resistance, a condition where your cells stop responding properly to insulin. Insulin resistance is devastating for muscle health because insulin isn't just about blood sugar. It's also a powerful signal that tells your muscles to take up amino acids and build new protein. When you become insulin resistant, your muscles literally can't respond as well to the protein you eat. You end up in a vicious cycle. Poor blood sugar control leads to worse muscle building, which leads to lower metabolism, which leads to more blood sugar problems. Legumes break this cycle. Mr. James Martinez, a 75-year-old retired police officer from Phoenix, experienced this transformation personally. James had type 2 diabetes that was becoming harder to manage each year. His hemoglobin A1C, a measure of average blood sugar over 3 months, was at 8.2, well above the target of 7 or below. He was also noticing significant muscle weakness and had fallen twice in the past year, once requiring a trip to the emergency room. James was skeptical when I suggested focusing on legumes. He'd always thought of them as hippie food, as he jokingly told me. But his wife, Elena, was willing to try anything to keep him healthy and independent. She started making black bean soups, lentil stews, and chickpea salads. James began eating legumes at least once, sometimes twice daily. The results were nothing short of remarkable. Within 4 months, James's A1C dropped to 7.1. His fasting blood sugar readings became much more predictable and stable. But what excited James most was that he started feeling stronger. He joined a senior fitness class at his local community center, something he never would have considered before. When I saw him for his 6-month follow-up, he walked into my office with confidence and told me he'd just helped his son move into a new apartment, carrying boxes upstairs without excessive fatigue. Elena said it was like having her husband back, the strong, capable man she'd worried she was losing forever. Now, if that surprised you, wait until you hear about the anti-inflammatory properties of legumes and how they compare to fish oil in this crucial area. Chronic inflammation is like a slow-burning fire inside your body, damaging your arteries, breaking down muscle tissue, and accelerating aging. Fish oil supplements became popular largely because omega-3 fatty acids have anti-inflammatory effects. The EPA and DHA in fish oil can help reduce inflammatory markers in the blood. But here's what many people don't realize. Legumes fight inflammation through multiple pathways simultaneously. First, legumes are rich in polyphenols, plant compounds with powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. These polyphenols work differently than omega-3s. They actually influence the genes that control inflammatory responses in your cells. Second, the fiber in legumes feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut, and these bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate that have profound anti-inflammatory effects throughout your entire body. Third, by stabilizing blood sugar and improving insulin sensitivity, legumes reduce one of the major drivers of chronic inflammation, metabolic dysfunction. Mrs. Susan Kowalski, a 69-year-old retired nurse from Chicago, discovered the anti-inflammatory power of legumes when she was struggling with both heart disease and chronic joint pain. Susan had undergone a stent placement 3 years prior after experiencing chest pain. She'd been taking fish oil supplements along with her prescribed medications, but she still felt sluggish and was frustrated by persistent inflammation that made her morning stiffness unbearable. Her rheumatologist had mentioned that some of her joint problems might be related to systemic inflammation affecting her entire body. Susan knew about nutrition from her nursing background, but she'd never really focused on legumes specifically. When we discussed adding them to her diet as part of a comprehensive approach to reducing inflammation, she was willing but not entirely convinced they'd make a difference beyond her medications. 3 months into eating chickpeas, black beans, and red lentils regularly, Susan noticed something unexpected. Her morning joint stiffness had decreased noticeably. She wasn't waking up feeling like she'd been hit by a truck anymore. Her inflammatory markers, particularly C-reactive protein, had dropped from 4.3 to 1.8 milligrams per liter, a significant improvement. Susan told me that she'd been skeptical about food making this much difference, but the proof was in how she felt every morning. She'd even been able to reduce one of her anti-inflammatory medications under her rheumatologist's supervision. Here's another critical factor that makes legumes superior to fish oil supplements for many people: bioavailability and absorption. When you take a fish oil capsule, you're getting a concentrated dose of omega-3 fatty acids, but absorption can be problematic. These fats need to be properly emulsified and broken down by your digestive system, and many factors can interfere with this process. Some people experience digestive upset, fishy burps, or simply don't absorb the oils efficiently. Additionally, fish oil capsules can be prone to oxidation, which means the beneficial fats can become rancid even before you consume them, potentially doing more harm than good. Legumes, on the other hand, come packaged by nature in a form your body recognizes and processes efficiently. The nutrients in beans and lentils are embedded in a food matrix that includes fiber, resistant starch, and other compounds that actually enhance nutrient absorption and create beneficial effects beyond the individual nutrients themselves. This concept of food synergy is something we're understanding more clearly every year. The whole food is greater than the sum of its individual nutrient parts. Mr. Thomas Anderson, a 71-year-old retired engineer from Seattle, learned about this food synergy principle after struggling with supplement absorption issues. Thomas had diverticulitis, a condition affecting his colon, and he frequently experienced digestive problems when taking supplements, including fish oil. His gastroenterologist had told him that his gut's ability to process and absorb certain supplements was compromised. Thomas was frustrated because he wanted to protect his heart. His father had died of cardiovascular disease at 68, but the supplements he tried kept causing problems. When we shifted his focus to whole food sources of nutrients, particularly legumes, everything changed. His digestive system handled beans and lentils beautifully, especially when we started with smaller portions and gradually increased them. Within weeks, Thomas was eating legumes almost daily without any digestive distress. His energy levels increased, his cholesterol improved, and he felt confident that he was finally nourishing his body in a way it could actually use. Let me address something important here: the cost factor. This is not trivial, especially for those on fixed incomes. A month's supply of quality fish oil supplements typically costs between $25 and $50, sometimes even more for premium brands. Over a year, that's $300 to $600 or more. Now compare that to legumes. A pound of dried beans or lentils costs between $1 and $3 and provides 8 to 10 servings. Even if you eat legumes every single day, your monthly cost might be $10 to $15. The economic difference is staggering, and this matters tremendously for long-term adherence. The best diet is the one you can afford to sustain for the rest of your life. Mrs. Dorothy Williams, an 80-year-old widow from Atlanta living on Social Security, experienced this economic reality personally. Dorothy had been spending $35 monthly on fish oil supplements that her daughter had recommended. While she wanted to protect her heart, that expense was significant given her limited budget. Some months, she had to choose between her supplements and other necessities. When I explained that she could achieve similar or better benefits by incorporating inexpensive legumes into her diet, Dorothy was initially doubtful. She'd grown up in the South eating beans, but she thought they were just poverty food, not something with real health benefits. I explained the science, and her daughter helped her find delicious recipes. Within 2 months, Dorothy had stopped buying fish oil supplements and was thriving on a diet rich in black-eyed peas, lima beans, and kidney beans. Her cholesterol improved, she had more energy, and most importantly, she no longer felt the financial stress of trying to afford expensive supplements. When I saw her for her annual visit, she brought me a container of her homemade bean soup and told me with a huge smile that she was eating the same foods her grandmother had made. But now she understood why they kept her ancestors strong and healthy. Now let's discuss the mineral content of legumes and why this matters specifically for muscle and heart health. Legumes are exceptionally rich in magnesium, potassium, iron, and zinc, minerals that play crucial roles in cardiovascular function and muscle performance. Magnesium, for instance, is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including those that produce energy at the cellular level and regulate heart rhythm. Potassium helps counterbalance sodium and is essential for maintaining healthy blood pressure. Iron is critical for oxygen transport to your muscles, and zinc is necessary for protein synthesis and immune function. Fish oil supplements provide none of these minerals. Zero. They're purely a source of omega-3 fatty acids. While those fats are indeed beneficial, they don't address the mineral deficiencies that are extremely common in older adults and contribute significantly to both muscle weakness and heart problems. Many people are walking around with suboptimal magnesium levels and don't even know it, experiencing symptoms like muscle cramps, fatigue, and irregular heartbeats that could be significantly improved with better nutrition. Mr. Edward Murphy, a 73-year-old retired accountant from Boston, discovered this mineral connection when he kept experiencing muscle cramps that were interfering with his sleep and daily activities. Edward would wake up multiple times per night with painful calf cramps. He'd tried drinking more water, stretching before bed, and even taking over-the-counter supplements specifically marketed for leg cramps, but nothing provided lasting relief. His doctor had checked his electrolytes, and while nothing was dangerously low, his magnesium levels were on the lower end of normal. When we discussed his diet, I noticed Edward was eating very few mineral-rich foods. He relied heavily on processed foods and rarely ate beans or leafy greens. We developed a plan to incorporate legumes into his diet at least 5 days per week, focusing on magnesium-rich varieties like black beans and navy beans. Within 3 weeks, Edward's nighttime cramps had decreased by about 70%. After 2 months, they were rare. He told me he couldn't believe that something as simple as eating more beans could solve a problem that had been plaguing him for over a year. His sleep quality improved dramatically, and because he was resting better, his overall energy and mood improved as well. If you're finding this information valuable, and you're still with me, go ahead and hit that like button to let me know this content is helping you understand your health better. Let's talk about protein quality and muscle synthesis in more detail, because this is where a lot of confusion exists. For years, there was a persistent myth that plant proteins were inferior to animal proteins for building muscle. This myth has been thoroughly debunked by modern research, but many people still believe it. The truth is that legumes, especially when eaten as part of a varied diet, provide all the essential amino acids your body needs to build and maintain muscle tissue. Here's what matters. Your body doesn't actually use protein as protein. Your digestive system breaks down protein into individual amino acids, and then your cells reassemble those amino acids into the specific proteins your body needs, including muscle tissue. As long as you're getting all 9 essential amino acids in adequate amounts over the course of a day, your body has everything it needs to build muscle. Legumes combined with whole grains provide a complete amino acid profile. But even on their own, many legumes like soybeans, chickpeas, and black beans have quite balanced amino acid profiles. There's also leucine, an amino acid that acts as a trigger for muscle protein synthesis. For years, people claimed plant proteins were low in leucine compared to animal proteins. While it's true that animal proteins generally have more leucine per gram, the difference is easily overcome by eating adequate amounts of legumes. A cup of lentils provides about 1.3 grams of leucine, which is sufficient to trigger muscle building, especially when eaten as part of a meal with other protein sources. Mrs. Helen Nakamura, a 67-year-old retired physical therapist from San Diego, put this principle to the test when she decided to transition to a primarily plant-based diet for health reasons. Helen had been athletic her entire life, teaching yoga and swimming regularly. When she turned 65, she noticed she was losing muscle mass despite maintaining her exercise routine. She'd always eaten plenty of animal protein and assumed that was necessary for maintaining her strength. Her friends and even some family members told her she was crazy to reduce animal protein at her age, warning her that she'd become frail and weak. Helen was determined but also nervous about making the wrong choice. We worked together to ensure she was eating plenty of legumes every single day, usually a cup to a cup and a half, combined with whole grains, nuts, seeds, and plenty of vegetables. 6 months into her plant-focused diet, Helen underwent a DEXA scan to measure her body composition. The results surprised even me. They certainly surprised her skeptical friends. Helen had actually gained 3 pounds of lean muscle mass and lost 2 pounds of fat. Her muscle strength measurements had improved across the board. She told me that not only did she feel as strong as ever, but her recovery time after workouts had actually improved, likely due to the anti-inflammatory effects of her plant-rich diet. Helen became an evangelist for legumes, teaching her yoga students about nutrition and proving through her own example that you can be strong, healthy, and plant-powered well into your later years. Another important consideration is the impact on kidney health and how this relates to heart health. There's an intricate connection between your kidneys and your cardiovascular system, and protecting one helps protect the other. Fish oil supplements in high doses can sometimes affect kidney function in susceptible individuals, particularly those who already have compromised kidney health. There's also ongoing debate about whether fish oil supplements might increase bleeding risk in certain people, which can be particularly concerning for those on blood-thinning medications. Legumes, by contrast, are actually protective for kidney health when consumed as part of a balanced diet. The fiber in legumes helps eliminate waste products efficiently, and the protein in legumes doesn't strain the kidneys the way excessive animal protein can. Additionally, by helping control blood sugar and blood pressure, legumes indirectly protect kidney function, which in turn protects cardiovascular health. It's another example of how whole foods work synergistically to support multiple body systems simultaneously. Mr. Richard Foster, a 74-year-old retired firefighter from Denver, learned about this kidney-heart connection the hard way. Richard had early-stage chronic kidney disease, a complication from years of poorly controlled diabetes. His nephrologist had warned him that his kidney function was declining slowly but steadily, and that he needed to be very careful about protein intake and overall diet quality. Richard had been taking fish oil supplements for his heart, but his doctor suggested discontinuing them due to concerns about their effects on his already compromised kidneys. Richard felt stuck. He wanted to protect his heart, but he didn't want to further damage his kidneys. When we discussed incorporating legumes as a kidney-friendly way to support both his cardiovascular health and blood sugar control, Richard was intrigued but worried about protein intake. We worked with his nephrologist to develop a plan where Richard ate moderate portions of legumes regularly, carefully balancing his overall protein intake to protect his kidneys while still meeting his nutritional needs. The results over the following year were encouraging. Richard's kidney function stabilized. It didn't improve dramatically, but it stopped declining, which was a significant win. His blood sugar control improved markedly, and his blood pressure, which had been creeping upward, came back down to a healthier range. Richard told me that learning about legumes had given him a sense of hope that he could still influence his health trajectory, even with chronic kidney disease. He felt empowered rather than defeated, and that psychological shift was almost as important as the physical improvements. Let me also address the environmental and sustainability aspect, because this matters more than many people realize when we're talking about long-term health strategies. Fish populations worldwide are under tremendous pressure from overfishing and climate change. The fish oil supplement industry requires massive amounts of fish to produce relatively small amounts of concentrated oils. There are legitimate concerns about the sustainability of this practice and about contamination of fish with mercury, PCBs, and microplastics. While high-quality fish oil supplements are purified to remove most contaminants, the environmental cost remains significant. Legumes, on the other hand, are among the most environmentally sustainable foods you can eat. They actually improve soil health by fixing nitrogen, reducing the need for synthetic fertilizers. They require far less water than animal agriculture. For people who care about leaving a healthy planet for their grandchildren while also optimizing their own health, legumes are an obvious choice. You don't have to sacrifice your values to take care of your body. Mrs. Angela Rodriguez, a 65-year-old environmental activist and former teacher from Portland, embraced legumes not only for her health, but also for her principles. Angela had been taking fish oil supplements for years, but felt increasingly uncomfortable about it as she learned more about oceanic ecosystems and the fishing industry. When her granddaughter, a marine biology student, explained to her the environmental impact of the fish oil industry, Angela knew she needed to find an alternative. The transition to legumes was easy for Angela because it aligned with all her values: personal health, environmental sustainability, and economic accessibility. She became a vocal advocate in her community, teaching cooking classes focused on legume-based meals. Angela told me that finding legumes as an alternative to fish oil had resolved an ethical dilemma she'd been struggling with, and the fact that her health improved in the process, her cholesterol dropped and her energy increased, made it even more rewarding. She felt like she was living in complete alignment with her values for the first time in years. Now let's discuss practical preparation and how to maximize the benefits of legumes while minimizing any potential digestive issues. Some people avoid beans because they experience gas and bloating. This is a valid concern, but it's entirely manageable with the right approach. The oligosaccharides in legumes, complex sugars that human digestive enzymes can't break down, are fermented by gut bacteria, which produces gas. However, your gut bacteria adapt over time. If you start with small portions and gradually increase your intake, most people find that digestive issues resolve within a few weeks as their microbiome adjusts. There are also preparation techniques that significantly reduce the oligosaccharide content. Soaking dried beans overnight and discarding the soaking water before cooking removes a substantial portion of these compounds. Using a pressure cooker or instant pot also breaks down more of these sugars. Adding digestive spices like ginger, cumin, and fennel can further reduce gas. For people who remain sensitive, enzyme products are available that help break down oligosaccharides. The point is, digestive issues are not a reason to avoid legumes. They're a problem with a solution. Mr. Vincent DeLuca, a 70-year-old retired restaurant owner from New Jersey, initially struggled with this exact issue. Vincent loved Italian cuisine and was skeptical about eating more beans, which he associated with digestive discomfort. His wife, Marie, wanted him to try incorporating legumes for his heart health. His cardiologist had recommended dietary changes after Vincent showed early signs of coronary artery disease. The first time Vincent ate a large portion of white beans in a pasta dish, he experienced significant bloating and gas, which confirmed all his fears. He told Marie he was done with beans. But Marie, bless her persistence, did research and learned about proper preparation methods. She started soaking beans overnight, cooking them thoroughly with bay leaves and garlic, and serving them in smaller portions alongside his other favorite foods. She also started with less gas-producing varieties like lentils and black-eyed peas. Within 2 weeks, Vincent's digestive system had adapted. He could eat beans several times per week without discomfort. 6 months later, Vincent's cholesterol had improved enough that his cardiologist was delighted, and Vincent himself admitted, somewhat grudgingly at first, that he actually enjoyed eating beans now. Marie had worked them into so many delicious Italian dishes, bean-based soups, pasta e fagioli, chickpea salads, that Vincent didn't feel like he was sacrificing flavor for health. Here's something else that's important to understand: the role of legumes in satiety and weight management, which indirectly supports both muscle and heart health. Being overweight or obese puts tremendous strain on your cardiovascular system and makes it much harder to maintain muscle mass and physical function. One of the biggest challenges in managing weight as we age is dealing with hunger and cravings. Legumes are incredibly effective at promoting satiety, that feeling of fullness and satisfaction after eating. The combination of protein, fiber, and resistant starch means that legumes are digested slowly, providing steady energy and keeping you full for hours. Compare eating a cup of beans with eating a typical fish oil supplement. The supplement provides no satiety whatsoever. It's just a pill. The beans provide a satisfying meal component that can help you feel full and potentially reduce overall calorie intake without feeling deprived. For people struggling with weight management, this difference is enormous. You're not just adding a nutrient. You're adding a food that fundamentally changes your eating patterns and supports your weight management goals. Mrs. Barbara Thompson, a 73-year-old retired librarian from Minneapolis, experienced this satiety effect powerfully when she started incorporating legumes to help manage her weight and heart health. Barbara had gradually gained 30 pounds over a decade after retirement, and she found herself caught in a frustrating cycle of dieting, losing a few pounds and then regaining them. She'd been taking fish oil supplements as part of her health regimen, but they did nothing to help her feel satisfied or manage her appetite. When we discussed adding legumes to her daily routine, Barbara was willing to try, though she wasn't optimistic. She'd tried so many approaches over the years. Barbara started eating bean-based soups and stews for lunch most days, and she added lentils or chickpeas to her salads. Within a week, she noticed something remarkable. Her mid-afternoon cravings for sweets had virtually disappeared. She felt satisfied after meals in a way she hadn't in years. Over the following 6 months, Barbara lost 17 pounds without ever feeling like she was on a restrictive diet. Her cardiologist was thrilled with her progress. Her blood pressure improved, her cholesterol numbers looked better than they had in a decade, and her energy levels increased. Barbara told me that legumes had been the missing piece in her weight management puzzle. They provided satisfaction and nutrition in a way that no supplement or diet program ever had. Let's bring all of this together with what you should actually do with this information. First, if you're currently taking fish oil supplements, I'm not telling you to stop immediately, especially if your doctor specifically prescribed them for a particular reason. However, I am suggesting that you have a conversation with your healthcare provider about whether you could get equal or better benefits by focusing on increasing your legume intake. For many people, the answer will be yes, especially when you consider all the additional benefits legumes provide beyond omega-3 fatty acids. Start incorporating legumes into your diet gradually. Aim for at least 3 to 4 servings per week initially, then work your way up to once daily if possible. A serving is about half a cup cooked. That's not a huge amount. You can add chickpeas to salads, eat lentil soup, make black bean tacos, or blend white beans into pasta sauces. The versatility of legumes means you can find preparation methods that fit your tastes and lifestyle. Pay attention to how your body responds. Notice your energy levels, your digestive comfort, and how satisfied you feel after meals that include legumes. Give it at least 4 to 6 weeks for your body to fully adapt and for you to experience the benefits. If you have any chronic health conditions, work with your healthcare provider to monitor relevant markers like cholesterol levels, blood sugar, blood pressure, and inflammatory markers. You might be amazed at the improvements you see. Remember that the best approach to health is rarely a single magic bullet. whether that's a supplement or a superfood. It's about building eating patterns that support your body comprehensively. Legumes are an exceptional foundation for healthy eating, but they work best as part of a diet rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and other whole plant foods. Think of legumes as a cornerstone, not the entire building. If you have specific health concerns, muscle weakness, heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol, chronic inflammation, discuss with your doctor how increasing legume consumption might fit into your overall treatment plan. In many cases, dietary changes can reduce your need for medications or prevent the need for additional medications down the road. That's powerful medicine that you're creating yourself 3 times a day with every meal you prepare. The story of legumes versus fish oil isn't really about one food being evil and another being perfect. It's about understanding that whole foods provide a complexity and richness of nutrition that isolated supplements simply cannot match. Fish oil supplements have their place, particularly for people who don't eat any fish or plant-based omega-3 sources. But for most people looking to support muscle health and cardiovascular function, the humble bean might just be the most powerful ally you've been overlooking. I hope this information has empowered you to make informed decisions about your health. You have more control than you might have realized, and sometimes the most powerful interventions are also the simplest and most affordable. If this video has been helpful, please share it with someone you care about who might benefit from this information. Leave a comment about your own experiences with legumes or any questions you have. I love hearing from you, and your questions help me create content that addresses what you really want to know. Take care of yourself, and remember that every positive choice you make for your health matters, no matter how small it might seem. Your body is incredibly resilient and responsive, and it's never too late to make changes that will improve your quality of life. Here's to your health, your strength, and many more years of vitality.